faster. That's what it's all about. Ocean freight rates are skyrocketing, so don't pay more for slower service. It's time to switch to faster, more reliable air cargo service with SkyMax Cargo. Up to 3 flights weekly to and from the USA, Puerto Rico, and the Caribbean islands, providing excellent import, export, and e-commerce solutions to put you ahead of the competition. For special low rates on small packages and air cargo, contact SkyMax today. 784-456-5400. Local agents SwiftPack Interprime Cargo. Call 784-456-5400 to book your shipments today.
Evangelist Bridget Blucher in association with EBS Ministries presents a Mother's Day boat ride entitled Step Aside, I'm Still Here. It's an all-white affair coming your way on Saturday, May 11th with live ministry by Minister Bridget Blucher, Pearl McMaster, Andres Basco, and Ronnie Richards. The Admiral 2 departs from SVG at 8:30 a.m. then returns from Beckway at 4:30 p.m. It's the Mother's Day all-white boat ride on May 11th. Tickets only $60 to include boat ride and concert in Beckway. Tickets available at Splitting Images, Beauty Salon, 784-532-0654, Spotlight Restaurant, Falls Avenue in Kingstown, 784-453-1253, and the Music Center, 784-456-1746. It's the all-white boat ride affair on May 11th. You can't afford to miss it.
Ground control, come in. It's the space station. We have an unidentified object for review. Over.
Go ahead, space station.
It seems to be.
Go ahead.
It's,
Go ahead, space station.
Okay, I've made my decision. It's a cricket ball.
What?
6. What a shot. You big it. Out of the park and into the sky.
The ICC Men's T20 World Cup.
It's out of this world.
Buy your tickets now from tickets.t20worldcup.com.
WEFM, the clean, fresh sound.
Rise and shine. Let's get ready to take on the day. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
Welcome back, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The time is 8:25. If you're just joining us, you're listening to Ari. With me is Rolisa and Christal, and we are Activated Mornings this morning. This morning, we have a special guest with us, Dr. Godwin Elliott Lorraine Friday.
It's a long time.
I'm surprised you read the entire thing.
We just had a discussion on names. All right. Yes.
So on introduction, Dr. Friday is the leader of the New Democratic Party, the NDP. He is also the member of parliament for the Northern Grenadines. He, in March 28th, 2001, he was elected to the House of Assembly for the Northern Grenadines constituency, and he retained his seat in 2005, 2010, 2015, and 2020 elections. He earned his bachelor's in arts in history and political science from the University of Waterloo, and a bachelor's of law from the Queen's University in Canada. He graduated with a master's degree in history from Waterloo in 1985, and in 1989 he graduated with a doctorate in political studies from Queen's. He also lectured at Queen's University in political studies, and this is in Canada. So good morning to you, Dr. Friday.
Wow, I haven't heard such a long introduction.
Well, you earned it.
For a while, but thank you. Thanks, guys, for having me here, and my apologies for the late start, but hopefully we'll make up for all that time.
Hopefully. Yes. So how should we address you?
Okay, so for context sake, because some people on the live may not understand, we were having a discussion on addressing people, addressing folks, especially older folks.
Right.
So previously, we had a segment with a gentleman called Lansford Weeks, And there was a little bit of discussion as to should we say Mr. Weeks, should we say Weeks or Lansford? And then that led into something else based on superiority. Like, what should we say? Should we address
Especially
it by
us
title?
younger folks addressing older folks.
Yeah, so that's why Ari asked that. Not that he didn't know, but that's why.
Yes, well, actually, I was following the discussion in the radio. So let me say good morning to everybody, to all your listeners, near and far. And it's a pleasure to be here. I've been here before several times, but it's been a while. And first time, I think, in the daytime, actually.
Oh, really?
Okay. Been here with Kingsley on his show a couple of times, at least 2 or 3 times. But yes, I mean, the question of how you address people, I mean, it really depends on the person you're addressing, because sometimes there are people who they like the formalities and the title and the handles, that they get and they've earned. And for others, it's more a kind of, it's my name. So if you call me by my name, I'm cool with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard you saying on the radio today that sometimes the kids, they would call you by your first name. That happens to me all the time because I used to teach football with kids on Saturday morning and so forth. And, a lot of people that call me Friday, or some of the kids that just call me by my first name.
Yeah.
Right,
Does it feel odd?
For us, how should we address you? Let's get it clear.
So that everybody who's listening knows who you're talking to and who's here. Dr. Friday is fine.
All
right. That's how I'm known. Most people know me as.
So, Dr. Friday, we already have a late start, so we have to start the ball rolling.
Sure.
Let's start with a topic near and dear to Releaser's heart, the age of consent. So you have voiced your thoughts on the age of consent. The age of consent here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is 15. Releaser has been an advocate for raising that consent age, and you yourself have suggested that it should be 18.
Well, we said that it should be. This is my position, is position of the political party, the New Democratic Party. One part of the introduction you missed out, I should say, is that I'm the leader of the opposition as well, not just as a member of Parliament for the Northern Grenadines. Okay. So, we have listened to a lot of the concerns that have been raised about this, and it's something that many people have expressed an opinion on, and the general view, and certainly it is my view and the view of the New Democratic Party, that the age of consent should be raised. As to the exact, age, that is something, of course, that can be discussed as well. Other countries in the region have said 16, others have said 17. If you look around the world, you will find that between 16 and 17 tends to be around what the average is, or not the average, but the higher level is. Some have said 18, but this is something I believe that we must have some public discussion about it. But definitely, I agree with the 15 is too low, and it should be raised.
Okay, so the party hasn't necessarily discussed it as yet.
Yes, we have. And the proposal is between 16 and 17, which is the age group that most people are talking, 16 and 18. But again, I would prefer to have a more broader public discussion on the issue, not just the age of consent. I mean, the age of consent is critically important, but the whole problem of sexual violence in our society and the abuse of girls and women and so forth that you find is too prevalent in St. Vincent and the Grenadines as a broader question that should be addressed as well.
Okay, so before we move off of this, because the PM too has said that he wants to hear a broader public discussion. And the question that I've been asking is, how are you going to collect this information? Yes. So from the New Democratic Party standpoint, how are you going to collect this information to know that this is what the majority of persons actually want to see the age of consent being?
What I would prefer to see, and this is something that we do it I suppose it's not as a launched program as such, but we do it in discussions that we have with individuals. Whenever we have discussions dealing with crime in general, it's an important part of that discussion. But what I believe that should be done, and it's been lacking, is that you should have forums where these matters are addressed by persons who have expressed their views about it, persons who are affected. You're thinking about teachers, school teachers, church leaders, ordinary people, young people, and so on, and have they're not like public meetings, they're more like town hall meetings, sort of. And then you have expert groups, and you have people who are presenting, because this is something that is not just affecting here in St. Vincent. There's other countries in the Caribbean who have looked at it as well, and look more broadly at how you deal with the problem of crime, sexual crimes, and so forth against women and girls. And that is a forum in which I think it can give people a chance to express their views. But I think that, a lot of public opinion definitely is that it should be increased. I've heard talk of even up to 21, which is quite, I don't think that is practical, but certainly between the ages of 16 and 18 is where I hear most opinions expressed.
Go ahead.
Sorry, is this a standalone suggestion from the New Democratic Party, or do you have other ways and means of curbing this issue in SVG?
You mean about the problem of
sex crimes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you only have to go down to the courtrooms and see on the door where they put up essentially the list of offenses that are going to be tried. And you see the sexual assaults and, sex with underage persons, and you realize that this is a very serious and pervasive problem in our country. And so there needs to be a general review of sexual offenses. This matter came up the other day in the Parliament when we were discussing penalties in relation to sexual offenses. And our proposal, and still is my preference, is to have a special legislation that deals with sexual offenses rather than just as part of the criminal code, which includes the definition of the offenses, but also sets out like policy statements as to how these offenses are to be dealt with. And then there is an entire apparatus of how you investigate, how do you deal with the victims of these crimes, and so forth. So it's a more comprehensive approach. That is what I believe we should be moving towards. And it's not reinventing the wheel, because other countries have similar types of legislation or approaches, and that's something we can learn from. And I think it would be it's the way to go, because the problem we have in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, is that we are moving from a stage where sex crimes have been very underplayed in our society in terms of how people regard them. People regard these things as, it's just sex.
Or it's been going on forever. It's
been going on,
right?
and you have the abuses in the homes. You have abuses from, people in different levels of power in various offices. We going all the way from rape to sexual harassment in the workplace, which we don't hear much of. And that is something that's also needs to be addressed as a general approach in the society to dealing with these very serious offenses. First of all, we have to now start to get our mindset to change and say, listen, these are serious crimes. They're very harmful, and we don't quite have that mentality. And that has to be educational. You start with everybody in schools and so forth. I mean, this reluctance to talk about sexual health and sexual violence and how you relate with one another and so forth about these very important matters. That's old fashioned. That's going out the door. We have to be much more open with our youngsters, our children, and so on, and have them better educated as to how to present and protect themselves, but also how to treat others, and to recognize that these are very, very damaging and serious offenses. So I would look to have a more comprehensive approach to dealing with the problem.
So I'm glad that you mentioned the youngsters or the youth here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, because that leads us to enter our next line of questioning this morning. What are the NDP plans for youth, and what have been the interactions like with the youth here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines?
Well, I have said, I'm a politician. I'm looking to form government. I said to the young people, this is your election to win. If young people decide that they want to bring about change in this country, I am willing to lead that change. I want to form a partnership with them to do so. But once you decide that you're going to do it, nothing can stop it. Nobody can stop it, but they have to understand the power that they have, which is that I can change government. I can make a change in the country going forward. And that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the responsibility to do it. I'm not going to leave it to my parents or to my uncles and so forth. I'm going to take responsibility because obviously they're going to be living in this country longer than me. You know, it's your future to shape. So standing on the sidelines doesn't mean it doesn't affect you. It will affect you whether you participate or not. So it is best to participate, inform yourself, and to find out where your interests are best met or dealt with. And I believe the New Democratic Party offers that. So here is the thing. Last year, we launched our Youth Guarantee Pledge. And this is a program, or at least a pledge, that we put forward from the party that says this. It puts three things into context. One is the high unemployment rate amongst young people, which is, as you know, is over 41% of young people are unemployed. So the first part of our Youth Guarantee Pledge is saying, listen, in the first term of an NDP government, our approach is to generate jobs and to give you an opportunity to find jobs here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. If you are unable to do so, there will be training programs available, not in the kinds that we have here now that are fairly low skilled, but we have to upgrade our skilling, our technical and vocational education, for example. But there will be training programs available for all of those persons who want to take advantage of them. And then if you've done that and you still haven't found a job, there's a third component to our Youth Guarantee Pledge, and that is an internship program, which says that you have the skill, you have the training, you just haven't gotten a break. So we find businesses in the public and the private sector and employers in the public sector to create an internship program that will allow those persons to find a job. My plan is for it to be for at least 1 year, where the government will pay half of the salary and the employer will match that, and so that the person gets a decent wage that they can live on, but they also get real experience, not just, a few $100s to essentially do something that doesn't prepare them for the world of work, which too often happens now. So what we need to do is to have that as a real internship program where they're producing for that particular employer who may see some value in them and say, listen, at the end of the internship, if you want to stay, we have a job for you. If not, you have real experience that you can go and take to an employer to give you a chance to find employment.
All right.
That is what we have proposed. We also have, just the second point is that we have launched also our National Athlete Program. And what that is really is to say to young athletes, emerging and elite athletes, that you essentially are representing St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you're representing us. So when you reach to a certain stage, you should get support from the state. If somebody gets 15 subjects at CSEC and CAPE subjects, we give them a national scholarship, right? Somebody breaks a national record, a performance internationally and so forth at a standard beyond what we are used to here. And we just applaud them. So we're saying that we would create a similar type of program where you achieve at a certain level and you will get support from the state. And that is for all sports across the board, because it gives our young people a chance to develop their abilities and hopefully to find employment through their craft.
Okay, and the third point?
Oh, okay. And I'll allow you to finish.
No, that is the second component of it.
And the third component, you said 3 components.
Well, the Youth Guarantee Pledge was the 3 components: was employment, training, internship.
Okay.
And then we have the second program now, which is the athletes program.
Okay.
Which is a separate.
Okay. I got it now. Just want to say before you ask the question, Relisa, that for those listening for Dr. Gerald Thompson this morning, who usually joins us on a Monday, he is out of the country, but he will be returning to Activated Morning next Friday. Forgot to put out that.
Monday?
Sorry, next Monday. Thank you very much, Relisa.
Dr. Friday?
Oh.
Yes. Thank you very much,
Relisa.
Go ahead, Relisa.
All right. So, Dr. Friday, I have the question in relation to unemployment, right? You said that you would create avenues for employment. Now, to some extent, the employment capacity in Vinci is a little bit, it's finite, right? are there going to be avenues to create new areas for employment? Because it's one thing to say, yes, your position or the party's position is to find jobs for younger persons, but where are these new jobs going to come from?
Yes, well, here's the thing. We have to have an economy.
Mm-hmm.
We can't just simply say, look, the government is taking care of this and is doing that and so forth from monies that we have borrowed or we have received as grants. Those funds have to be invested in productive activity. So as the New Democratic Party, we have outlined a strategy to develop the economy of the country. We call it the 4 pillars of the economy: agriculture, tourism, the blue economy, which, the 3 components of that I'm focusing on is fishing industry, which has tremendous potential, the Ortihol Marina, not far from here, which has to be developed according to, its potential, which is tremendous. And then, of course, the yachting sector, which we have a tremendous advantage in here in St. Vincent and Grenadines. So we have that, and we have an area called the new economy, which encompasses, things that we didn't normally think of as business: sports, the creatives, arts, music, and so forth. The new types of employment in IT and call centers and all of those kinds of activities that will give us an opportunity to provide some employment to to more people, more young people. This is what has to happen. You can't have an economy growing at 1% and 2% per annum and say that you're going to create jobs. That will not do it. And you can't just have the state employing more and more people, because ultimately, who pays them? It's the rest of us who are working, or the rest of the society who's working and paying the taxes so that you can pay those persons. So developing the economy is the key, and you have to look for investment domestically. Areas like tourism, for example, the government is doing that now, but it has been rather slow to do it. It's taken 23 years to open a major hotel here since they've been in office, that being Sanders. By comparison, Mitchell and the NDP did the Canada One project within the second term of the NDP government. And so you create opportunities for jobs in those various areas. You cannot have a successful country, a country that provides opportunities, whether it's for young people or for everybody, without a growing economy. And to do that, you have to focus on the productive sectors. And that's why we have identified those 4 pillars as the productive sectors. And we will focus on generating economic activity in those areas.
Under which time frame? You said that Mr. Mitchell said that Sir James.
The late Sir James.
Sir James.
So on point this morning.
He had said that you had said that he got the Canada One project done within the
second term.
Second term. Now, you're saying that the economy is growing 1-2% per annum.
2%, yeah.
2% per annum. Under what time frame do you plan on accomplishing these things that you just listed out?
Well, first of all, we have to build the infrastructure in place. The government, they built the airport, and they said they're building the port here in Kingston. Those are things that they are infrastructure that enables or should enable the private sector, local and foreign, to grow and take off. But you have to have policies that make it attractive for them to come, to be here, and even for the ones who are here to start up. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we are in terms of ease of doing business, we rank at 130 out of 193 countries. 130? Yeah, thereabouts. 129 countries are better than us. So that tells you that, we need to change our legislation, our approach, our whole mindset as to how we attract business and how we assist them in order to create jobs and opportunities for people. So that's one thing that has to be done, is we have to look at how we attract domestic and foreign capital. And that is something that we will look at very seriously. Secondly, we have to, let's take, for example, we have some infrastructure here, like the Ortihol Marina and Shipyard. That was built during the time of the New Democratic Party. When it was built as a major project to diversify the economy away from agriculture, because they saw that agriculture was, banana was being hit with serious problems internationally, so we had to diversify the economy. And that has been just left there. I'd invite any one of you to go and have a look at it. And anybody you talk to, they will tell you that this can generate economic activity. It can generate 100, 200 good paying jobs, as divers, electricians, painters, welders, all these kinds of things. They're highly skilled jobs. So that is something that we can, in the first term of an NDP government, have that running as it should and create all the spin-offs that would come from it, because it is a tremendous facility that can be productive for government in terms of generating tax revenue and even revenue as a shareholder, but also to create jobs and opportunities for people, young people or skilled people.
Mm-hmm.
So within the first 5 years of an NDP government, you will start to see those kinds of things happening. But of course, we have to invest also in the longer term to make sure that we have the basis for continued growth beyond the first term of a government. And that comes from the physical infrastructure. You look at our roads and our bridges and our public facilities, they're in terrible condition. All of those things, the farmers ask them how to get stuff. I talked to a farmer the other day in, in Western Georgia, and he was saying, the big problem he has, he can't get his stuff on the land because the roads are so bad, you have to get hire people literally to carry them on your backs. That creates inefficiency. It creates additional costs for them. And so the cost of everything they produce is higher. And you may think, oh, well, that's just that farmer. But he is indicative of what's happening, generally speaking. And so those are things that they seem like ordinary things to do, but if you don't do them, we are going to be mired in low productivity and low growth, and the economy of St. Vincent and the Grenadines will continue to suffer. And that's what we are happening now, and that's what I want to change.
Okay. Just a time check. It is now 11 minutes on to 9 o'clock, and the WhatsApp number is 4579997, as well as that's the number to call if you're just joining us. Yes, we are live in studio with the leader of the opposition, Dr. Godwin Friday. I have a question. As we're still talking about youth, now the last general elections, the New Democratic Party was able to get the majority of the votes in totality, but when unable to get into government because you got fewer seats than the ULP. Have you, in your conversations with young people, encountered a lot of youth not interested in voting? And if you have, what was your encouragement to get them to want to vote?
Well, I'll tell you, a few years ago, I had a conversation. This is about 2 years now. I had a conversation with a young man up in Georgetown area. And I had a long conversation with him because we were doing walkabouts, which I tend to do. And, he had this reluctance. He said, all politicians are the same. They make promises and they don't fulfill it. So I said to him straight up, I said, have I ever made you a promise? And he said, no. I said, so why are you blaming me for somebody else's faults? And he said, yeah, you're right. So talk to me. So we talked for about 20 minutes and he said, yeah, okay, I agree with what you said. I have to make a choice and I will seriously consider this now because they have to determine their own destiny as well. But I find that young people now, since that 2 years ago, now they're excited to bring change. And I find that they are more embracing of me. They want to talk politics. I'm not saying all of them, but a lot more. I meet them at various places, whether it's in Heritage Square or the football field or in various places and so forth. Or some of them even come to my office. And what they want to do, they want change to come. And they want to see that we are serious about creating opportunities for them, because the big problem we have in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and that's the number one thing in our campaign, is the lack of jobs for young people, 41% unemployed. For ordinary population, 25% unemployment. But not only that, a lot of the employed persons also are being paid wages way below regional averages. I was just reading a story about the police officers, for example. So many of them are leaving the police service. Why? Conditions of employment and their prospect of improving their living standard, meaning that they're being paid below what they see that they can get elsewhere in the region. And a lot of young professionals in St. Vincent You know, they look to go not even to Canada and America. They go to St. Kitts, they go to Antigua and so forth because they find that it's they get paid better. So that's part of the problem we have here is that we have among the CARICOM countries the lowest wage rates in the entire Caribbean.
Dr. Friday, what would you say in response to the question of young people in the NDP and the New Democratic Party? Because we even see in Parliament that in the government, there are a few new faces as senators and in different positions across government.
Mm-hmm.
In the NDP, I have not seen a lot of young people. What do you say in response to that?
Or even the involvement of young Democrats in terms of training them,
Mm-hmm.
grooming them to take over. In terms
Well,
of-
we have, yes, we have, and this is something that I am as keen to see go even further than than many of the young people, because I want to see young people attracted to the New Democratic Party, not just as voters, but also playing a part. And we have young people in our organization who have key roles, young people who have key roles, central roles in our party, not just, persons who are there and they don't have actual, say in what is happening. So that is something that needs to, we are constantly looking for people to become part of and to also play a role in shaping the future of the party so that we can shape the future of the country. But the situation you will find is that a lot of young people, they are in vulnerable positions. And so sometimes they're reluctant to expose themselves very early. I mean, we have even now within our organization in the Young Dems. And then they find jobs, not just necessarily here, but elsewhere, and they leave. And then you have to replace and so forth, because they are at that stage in their lives where they are starting out, and the opportunities, when they come, they take them. And then sometimes they can't become too much more. Once they're there, they can't be too active publicly. And that is something that is affecting us now. It affects, it's not just here. I've spoken to political leaders in Jamaica and in St. Lucia and Grenada, and they say, yeah, and especially if you're in opposition. Of course, when you're in government can promise you all kinds of things and provide certain protections and so forth. In opposition, a lot of people feel that they will be victimized if they don't. And I tell them, they say, listen, at some point, we have to stand our ground and say, this is the time to make the change. And I think more and more of them are doing so now. And I'm very happy for that.
I'd pose the same question to St. Clair Leacock when he had called in on the program a few months ago, and he said the same thing, that there are young people that hold key roles, but who are these young people?
Mm-hmm.
Because we see Shaquille Bob, we see Ben Arthur Brown, we see Anson Latchman. I don't know who the young people are in the New Democratic Party.
Abstract.
Yes.
You're speaking in abstract and saying that there are the young persons, but we cannot identify, which was, I actually was going to ask that, who are these young people?
Well, let's give one example.
Mm-hmm.
Lavon King became the public relations officer of the NDP when she was 24 years old.
Okay.
And she still is there.
Okay.
And she has a key role in parts. We have young persons who are involved in the Young Dems. I don't necessarily want me to talk their names here, who play roles. They come to meetings, they contribute, and they're part of that organization, and they're part of our brain trust. So, sometimes they do not wish for us to basically, talk too much about them publicly. So that's it.
Yeah, you say the reason is there's a fear
of victimization, fear of exposure, and so forth, and that is real.
Okay.
All right, so we have just about 4 minutes, I think, Ari,
roughly,
this conversation. So somebody did ask a question. They said, "Can Dr. Friday convince me to vote for the party in a 30-second sales pitch?"
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So I'm sure this is not going to be the last occasion where you're going to be here.
Well, here's the thing.
30
we gotta
seconds.
say it now, right?
Are we timing?
For those who are listening.
Wow.
We can give them a minute.
I want to create
An elevator pitch.
I want to create a country in St. Vincent and Grenadines with opportunity for more jobs and better paying jobs, to create safer communities, safer streets, safer communities, to have a healthcare system that we can trust. That is a serious concern for most people in this country. Also to have the infrastructure in this country, the roads in particular, repaired and functioning effectively. And to have a society in which there is hope for young people in particular who feel that they can make a living here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, they can raise a family, and that they can aspire to improving their circumstances. And that is something that I believe we can deliver.
Okay, my final question, because we're probably down to 3.5 minutes
Yes.
now.
And those are US minutes. So let's
so the leader of the New Democratic Party before you acquired that position, Mr. Arnim Eustace, he always talked about a kinder and gentler society. Is that something that, I don't want to say the NDP has neglected, or have you changed the name and changed your approach to it?
Not at all. I mean, listen, we could all do with a kinder and gentler society. We encourage it in our own homes and our own families and our own relationships with people. So why not essentially on a national level? But how do you create that? It is in doing things that improves people's opportunities and their standard of living and so forth. And that gives them a chance to basically live the life that they want in this country and to help others. You know, what has happened in the past number of years, 10, 15 years in this country, is that you find a lot of people who used to be in middle class, they call them, who would help other persons who were struggling. And you go to them now and they say, well, you know, I catch in hell too. And that creates a certain amount of me first kind of attitude. So in terms of the labels, whether it's a kinder and gentle, the point is that if you are focused on people, you say, my priority is about making life better for you. How we do that is I have put forward, and I've told you some of that, plans as to how we will do it. But we will continually review this and speak to people and engage them in the process of development, in the process of changing their own futures. It's not something that is set in stone. And certainly the label, you might say, okay, fine, you're not using the label and so forth, but the intent and the policies are all there to create a better place for us in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, to create a better society for us, a place where we want to live, where it's safer. Now, I mean, you have people, ask people, the crime situation in the country is so out of hand in terms of violent crimes and gun killings and so forth, that I am sure that people actually sometimes go to bed. I've talked to people about this, and the worry and their mental health is affected because they can't go out in the community in the way they used to. They can't go and lie in the places they used to because they fear that something untoward could happen. These are things that create a society that is not one that we are used to in St. Vincent and Grenadines, and one that we certainly want to improve.
All right, just a time check. It is 9 o'clock here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
2 minutes time.
There are two. Well, actually, this is the correct time. There are two questions that came in on the WhatsApp I want us to squeeze in before we go to the ECCB currency exchange rate. And that is...
You want me to read it? Okay.
Yes, please.
All right. So question, when your party gets into office, notice it spoke, right? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Will you, Dr. Friday, be the only one speaking for the NDP, or will other members speak for the respective constituencies, as opposed to how we see it's done on the other side?
Well, listen, this is the way we approach things now. You don't hear me talking about everything. You don't see me. People are saying that, I need to be more out there and do things and so forth. The point of the matter is this. You can't just have one, as E.G. Lynch said it a long time ago, encyclopedia and the other copybooks, because everybody brings something to the table. All of the people I have around me are very capable people, and I give them the opportunity to do their thing in their own jurisdictions. And that will not just be for the members of cabinet. That will not just be for the members who are elected to parliament. This will come from heads of departments and so forth, because if they don't function, if they have to wait all the time for me to get approval from me or somebody up at the top, you know what is the right decision, but you can't do it because you want to make sure that it's politically correct to do so. That makes the whole system breaks down. And so, no, we are not going to follow that model that was there. And certainly because we have seen the consequences of it and they are negative. And the approach that I have now is one where we engage everyone basically to get things done. When I have conversations with my colleagues, I'm usually the last one to speak. because I listen to hear what people have to say, and they will tell you that.
Sounds very much Nelson Mandela.
Oh, that's a very good character trait to have. Yeah, really.
Yeah,
but you don't have to take my word for it. I mean, we open a meeting, but usually I listen because I want to hear what people have to say. So sometimes their ideas are better than mine, and then we act on what is best, not what simply because I say it's true.
Which is fair and is understandable and is commendable. But there are times you don't necessarily have to respond to it now. But there are times when I feel as if it's not one voice being spoken in terms of one position, where I may hear you say something and then I hear another member from your party saying something different, right? So that's
I'll challenge you on that because I challenge you on that because I don't. I think sometimes people magnify things. You look at if you look for differences, you will find differences. The point is that sometimes we have persons have different nuances on certain problems and so forth, and then they will express that and they say, "Oh, this person go on this one," but look at it in its essence, and you will see that usually it's the same thing because I don't have to speak on every issue in terms of, I speak on all the issues, but I don't have to be all the details of every issue. We have persons who have different expertise or jurisdiction, and I let them do their work, and I support. And there are certain issues then that I lead on, and that's how we'll continue to govern. Because if you have everybody, as we put it, firing on all pistons, then of course we'll do much better. We'll go faster, we'll go farther.
All right. Well, we have roughly over a minute for this last question here this morning.
All right. So you were speaking on our ranking. So the person is saying the ease of banking locally and internationally, especially dealing with remittances. How would you plan on improving this?
The ease of
banking locally and internationally, especially with remittances. How do you plan on improving this?
Well, that is it's a complicated problem because international banks have their own kind of rules and regulations as to who they deal with and whether they think that you are above board and so forth. So first of all, the reputation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the reputation of a financial institution have to be completely above board because we don't get much of, we are not given the benefit of the doubt usually. They look at us as a small, poor country and they think, well, okay, you hear something and you think it must be true if it's negative. So we have to be really, in a sense, pristine in how we deal with our financial institutions. And you can't have a situation where there is, one set of rules for some and a different set of rules for others. International banks, they want to do business. So to the extent that they see us as a good business option, they would be willing to have those relations with us. But before we do that, we have to meet all of our criteria, have to be set out clearly. We have to meet the standards that are set by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank and the international standards to have those other banking institutions willing and eager to do business with us. Because ultimately, that's what it comes down to, is business.
All right. Well, the time is 9:05 here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We're well over time. Unfortunately, hopefully we would have you again here, Dr. Friday. We could have more discussions because we have a lot of questions.
I didn't hear from Christal much. Let's see.
I have my few questions. I think I came
with
in.
more time.
I think time is our enemy usually.
Yeah, well, that's partly my fault. I'm sorry that we got here a little later than anticipated, but I've enjoyed the conversation and I was very pleased that you extended the invitation for me to be here.
We're friends of all. We're friends of all.
He did not say surprise, He said please.
No, I didn't say that you were not, but it was a pleasure to go attend, and I made it clear that I want to come on the program. So invite you back sometime soon.
Of course.
And it was a pleasure.